All right, I'm going to show you how we made our greenhouse for less than $400. So first of all, you're going to start with some pallets. You can get pallets for free all over. You can get them from Marketplace and factories and places like that. We did purchase ours. We bought them for about $3 a pallet, so it was about $100 worth of pallets because we wanted them all the same size. It just saves time in cutting them down. Other than cutting a few of them down for the length and to help them fit, we left them the 4 feet tall when they're on their side. And my husband did cut down this V in the middle, which is perfect. I'm so glad he did that because it makes it really easy to reach the corners. And you can see he put support beams there down the middle to help support the weight when they're filled with the soil. So there's the frame. He screwed them all together, all the pallets, and got our frame. Then we put the inside of our greenhouse frame. We purchased this on Amazon, and all the products we purchased, you can get the links in the description of the video. So we wanted to make sure the frame would fit, and it did. So then the girls and I painted the outside. Now, we had a bunch of leftover paint. So last year when we were doing a lot of remodels, we were going to Home Depot a lot. And every time we would go, I would check out their oops department in their paint. So what that is basically if they tint something the wrong color or whatever for somebody, they discount the gallon of paint or sometimes even a 5-gallon bucket, and they do it really cheap. So we got a lot of our paint for our house remodel last year at amazing prices because we weren't super picky on the colors, and we actually were able to find quite a few colors that we liked, and so it worked out great. And so we just had quite a few little ends of like half a gallon or a quarter of a gallon, or a couple of them had almost a full gallon of some random colors. So we wanted to do just kind of a cute little random color of the greenhouse, and it's not a big deal. It's outside, so it's more for just fun and just to make it a little cuter. But we weren't super, like I said, we weren't super picky on the colors or anything like that. It was just a good way to use up the last of our paint that would go bad eventually anyway. And it turned out pretty cute. I'm pretty happy with the colors, and it really didn't take that long. The videos here are fast forwarded, but it took probably a couple of hours with the girls and I, and then my husband and I went out and finished a little bit more. It took maybe another hour or so to finish up the last few colors and planks, and we did leave some just the wood, the natural wood look, and so I'm really happy with how it turned out. Once we had it all painted, then we had a bunch of this lava rock that was left on our property when we bought it. The previous owner loved to landscape with it, and it's hideous. We can't stand it. But it does make a good draining system for our grow bed. So we filled about the bottom half of these grow beds with the lava rock. Then once we had the lava rock, we got this lining. Now this, we actually spent a little bit more. We got the nicer, thicker, more durable lining, which, you know, this is a big project, so we wanted it to last. And eventually, I mean, the truth is eventually it might break down and we might have to replace it, which is going to be a big job, but we're hoping it'll last quite a few years before we have to do that. So for now, we did, it was only like $20 more to get the thicker one versus the thinner one. Totally worth the $20. So now we just put the lining on each side. So the garden beds are about 3 feet apart from each other, the width, and this liner is 3 feet wide as well. So what we did was we stapled it along the sides on both sides, and it could almost touch and overlap. But then since I mean, it wouldn't have been the end of the world if it didn't overlap, because we do have the rocks there, and you're going to have some settling, and you're going to have some, the purpose of those lava rocks is to help it drain better anyway for our garden. And so that's naturally going to happen over time, but we did want to help delay that process as long as possible. So we did put a middle strip down the middle as well. Now this liner, this particular liner, will let water through. It holds some of it, but it's kind of like a fabric. It will hold some of the moisture, but it also, if there's too much water, it will let the water seep through it, which is perfect because it gives it long enough for the plants to absorb the water, but not long enough. It's not going to hold it stagnant where they will grow mold or get root rot or anything like that. And then our rocks at the bottom, also the other purpose with having those lava rocks, I mean, aside from the fact we got rid of them in the rest of our yard and we don't have to look at them because they're ugly and they're horrible to clean and maintain, but they also act as a really good filler because these grow boxes are 4 feet tall. That would have been a ton of dirt to fill them with. And so having the lava rocks there, we filled them about halfway full with the lava rocks. So having them full with about halfway full with the lava rocks, that gave us a good filler. So it was less dirt we had to use. And it's just a good airy way to have the bottom of our grow boxes. So the corners are a little bit tricky on this, and you could go to the edge, but you do want them to come around the corner a little bit because you don't want open seams on the corners, and you don't want really any open seams on the sides of the grow boxes, because that if they split apart when you added the weight of the dirt, your dirt will tend to just come through them. So you do want to overlap. It's always better to overlap when you're doing the lining rather than have it meet up to each other perfect. And so keep that in mind when doing the corners, and see how the corner, it doesn't always go complete to the middle, but that's okay because we did a section down the middle as well. And so when you're doing the lining, just remember, especially for something vertical like this, it's always better to have it overlap because that'll give you more support, hold the dirt in a little bit better. Always better safe than sorry. So basically, once we got the sides all stapled in, and this is just a heavy duty stapler here. I mean, you could nail them down if you don't have a heavy duty stapler. These are really great, just handy to use. But once we have them down, we're about ready for the middle section. And you can see we got some little paper stuff that we did. We honestly didn't worry about it. We threw it in because it's paper. It'll break down, and we're going to add more stuff here in a minute anyway, you'll see. So now we have the two sides. We added, this is the middle strip. So we tucked the sides in just so that they're flat, so that the dirt didn't catch, and we didn't want it to rip or pull the staples out. So we smoothed it, made it smooth along the sides, and now we had a middle piece to go down, because once it was straight down the sides, there was maybe a 6 to 8 inch gap down the middle where you could see the lava rocks. And it wouldn't have been the end of the world if we put dirt in at that time, but doing a strip down the middle of this liner is just going to extend the amount of dirt that we put in. It's going to help hold it in. Like I said, eventually things are going to settle and it's going to sink. And every year when we plant, we're going to want to add topsoil and garden potting soil and things anyway for nutrients. But this just helps a little bit. Now that we had that, we added cardboard. Okay, so partly because we had tons of cardboard and it was a good way to get rid of our boxes without having to burn them or trash them. Also, cardboard will help hold in some of the moisture. It'll break down over time. We raked our pine trees and we put pine needles and pine cones. So kind of a double purpose there. It helped clean up the yard, and it's stuff that eventually will add nutrients to the soil. It's going to take a while for those to break down to the point where they add nutrients to the soil, but that's okay. We put them in anyway. It's like I said, it's better to put them in there than to throw them in the trash or have to deal with them elsewhere. At least putting them in the grow box, they will serve a purpose. And at this point, my husband was able to borrow a tractor from some friends, and luckily we have the fields in our property where we could get some dirt. Now, we were going to bring in dirt, some topsoil, and just buy it to fill it, but we started realizing the previous owners had cows back here. So we had some good soil with lots of manure naturally broken down into the soil. So we noticed one field, the dirt was a lot darker than the bigger field. And that was where the cows were more. So we knew there'd be more manure, and that's probably why the soil was darker. So we decided to fill the bottom part with the lighter colored soil that it's good soil, still has manure, but then we did the darker soil on the top that has more manure in it. So we've got that fertilizer right on top for our plants. And So it actually didn't take too much. We could have done this by wheelbarrow and shovel. It just would have taken a lot longer. But look at the color difference of this soil. So it's not one's wet and one's dry. That they're both dry soil. Just one was a lot darker. That means it's got a lot of more manure, the fertilizer, nutrients, and all that in it. So here you have it. We have it all full. We put the frame on, and my husband attached it about 2 feet off the ground, and it was ready for plants. All right, so here I am in our brand new greenhouse, and I just wanted to show you the coolest little gadget that we got ever. So if you follow any of our YouTube or TikTok videos, we purchased a house that needed a lot of work, a lot of remodels, a lot of work done on the yard. And so we've been doing lots of projects throughout. So one of our projects is building a greenhouse. And we got I'm inside the greenhouse now. It was a lot of work, and it's kind of windy, so bear with me here as the wind's blowing the open door. But our next problem, our next big issue we had was getting water to the greenhouse. So our backyard currently only has one spigot, like a little handheld open spigot for our property, other than the 2 that are attached to the house. Eventually, we will tap into that line, or we'll put in eventually a couple more spigots. But at the same time we do that, we're going to be putting in sprinklers, and you know, you got to dig trenches, and there's a lot to do for that. Let's see. Hope I'm not covering the mic there. I just realized. So there's a lot of work to do to put in the new water lines and the trenches and all that. But we didn't want to just not have a garden or a greenhouse or plant fruit trees or whatever this year, so we're improvising, and that's where today's little project comes in. Solar powered drip system. Okay, seriously, this thing is the coolest. So I'm going to flip the camera around and I'll show you how it works, and then in the video, in the description below, you can get a link to this exact solar set that we have. We are loving it. Totally worth every penny. So let me flip it around, I'll show you how it works. All right, so here is our water pump / timer for our drip system. So you can have it set on the intervals of how long it'll do, like 1, 2, clear up to I think like 30 minutes at a time for your watering time. Your interval time is how often it will turn on. So right now we have ours set to water for 5 minutes every 12 hours. Okay, so this is powered, woo, it is windy all of a sudden. This is powered by this solar panel right here. So, woo, here comes the wind. It was not windy when I first came out here. It's just picking up. So this actually has a built-in battery. It's a battery, a timer, and a water pump all built in here. So that connects to the solar panel. And then it's got a couple things here. Sorry, we got to put the box away still. This is just a 55-gallon drum, just standard. It is a food grade one, and we have it full of water. And so what we have is on this side, this is the sensor. This came with the kit. This is the water sensor, so it tells how much water, and it actually will beep if the drum gets low on water. It'll beep and tell you to fill it up. This is the hose that it sucks the water out of. So it comes in there in the water pump, and then this is the hose that it comes to. And we have this greenhouse. So here is all our plants and the hose that goes along, and then we have it pinched at the end. But then you have the little offshoots, and these have drippers. Now we actually ordered more drippers for like the last 6 because we ran out, but the drippers are these little blue things right here. And the white stuff, by the way, is just Diatomaceous Earth. If you're like, what is the white stuff all over her tomato plants? That's Diatomaceous Earth. It's great to keep pests away. The hose is just attached to this little dripper that goes down in next to each plant. And we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41. 41 plants in the grow beds, plus we have these 2 pots that have jalapenos in them. And we had them on the top shelf, but the incline, it wasn't pushing the water up, so we had to move them down. And we might end up doing something, we might end up taking this top shelf off here, just as they grow and things. We'll have to adjust that. But the hoses, it was too much of an incline to get really enough water to them. But, and that's just, again, tapped off at the end here and splits to 2 hoses up there. So there you have it, our solar powered drip system, and we're good to go. Between the greenhouse extending our growth and our grow period, and then the solar powered drip system, we're estimating we will only need to fill this barrel probably once a week, maybe even once every 2 weeks. And we could, it tells you how much water it pumps out per minute. We could figure it out, sit down and do the math. We just haven't yet. But anyhow, this is so awesome. Now this is the bigger set. There's 2 sizes available of this solar powered pump, solar powered drip system. This is the larger one. It's a 10 watt. There is I think a 2 watt and a 1 watt available. We've actually thought about getting the smaller ones for our fruit trees, and I'm thinking we will. So there you have it.